Hey guys, it's Jonathan Carey. Welcome back to another MMA commentary video. Today we're going to be going over the UFC 329 fight card and analyzing what I thought was the fight of the night in Brandon Royval versus Lone'er Kavanagh. On top of that, we're going to be going over our predictions and seeing what we got perfect, around in the middle, or was absolutely off course. Anyways, let's jump into it. So I'd actually like to start the video off by going over what I thought was the biggest disappointment of the night, which was actually McGregor versus Holloway. Clearly, we were all very interested to see if the Mac could be back, even though he shouldn't be back. The UFC should have never touched him after what he did, but more on that later. McGregor clearly was at least more bothered coming into the cage versus Holloway. I don't think Holloway was getting to his nerves or anything, or if this was like feeling out of place, but I do think that he had a small injury or tweak coming into the fight, and that god-awful decision to throw a leaping kick to start the match just perpetuated and fully blew out his knees. But I would like to go over the hypotheticals and my part of the prediction, in which I thought McGregor was going to wrestle Max, either before or after managing distance in the striking game and making Max feel like he couldn't pressure him forward. But with that being said, I think if Conor does return one more time, he might face Michael Chandler. And unless Michael Chandler wrestles him to the ground the entirety of the bout, I think Conor is going to light him up in the striking. Michael Chandler loves to run headfirst into things, and Conor is the counter king when it comes to this weight class. But I don't want this to happen. I don't think McGregor deserves to be in the UFC anymore. I don't think he deserves to be very public. I don't think he should have any fame. People like him should not have fame. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, let's go back to the rest of the card. So starting off with King Green versus Terrence McKinney, I was correct in my prediction that King Green was going to beat McKinney. However, King Green did do it much earlier than I thought and actually ended up TKOing him instead of leading it to a decision, which I did not think was in the cards at all. But King Green did come out pretty sharp, and I did appreciate the idea that once he realized he survived the initial onslaught McKinney had through the ground and pound, and the massive shots, and the power, and that complete brute force mentality, he realized that he could empty the tank on McKinney and still turn out fine and possibly finish him. The work on the body was fantastic from Green, and I don't know how many more fights he has left in him, but if he keeps fighting like this, I could see him fighting for at least another 2-3 matches. Now, Sandhagen versus Batista. I did assume that Sandhagen was going to put in some very good striking work. However, I didn't think it was going to be good enough to keep Mario Batista's aggressive wrestling off of him. And with that being said, I was right. And I don't want to sound very narcissistic when I say this, or very self-centered, but Batista did take very good advantage of being in the clinch and either working that through some type of takedown or working that through clinch strikes. The knees especially were pretty effective, scattered out throughout rounds. But Mario he performed great, and this is the type of performance you needed to beat somebody like Sandhagen. They both looked very prepared coming into the fight. However, Mario's aggressive ground presence just completely messed up Corey. And round 3 was maybe the most dominant display of wrestling we've seen in at least 5 cards. Anyways, Batista for the win. That was beautiful. Now onto something completely unexpected by me. I had no clue that Benoit Saint-Denis was going to get put into the nastiest dark stroke I have ever seen, besides possibly Islam Makhachev. You know, I thought he looked a lot like Moicano in that position, except Paddy had him in this very weird folded under him state. I've never seen it in a live match, but it was incredible to see. And clearly Paddy game planned very well for the aggressive takedown nature that I thought was going to dominate him. He defended the takedown perfectly with a submission, exactly how he needed to. And it was beautiful. There's not much to say about it. It was so quick. Paddy displayed great reactions, great training. It's clear that he was ready for this situation. And I just couldn't have been more wrong. Now, in what I thought was a beautiful, beautiful fight of the night in my opinion, fight of the last few nights maybe, was Brandon Royval and Lone'er Kavanagh. I would like to pat my own back just one more time in this video and say that I think I was very spot on with that round 3 submission, especially when it came to the grappling exchange. But I didn't expect it to happen that way, especially with how Kavanagh cracked Royval in round 2. That was a massive shot, and it was vicious ground and pound. He followed up very quickly and made a very good case as to why he could be a flyweight champion eventually. But I think this was a bad fight for Lone'er so early in his career. Royval kept him so honest with that jab the entire fight. It was very effective in round 1 and 2, but after he got hit, it did turn into a bit more of a Muay Thai, a bit more of a, hey, can I shoot on you? Can we clinch? Whatever to avoid getting hit like that again. But Brandon fought a hell of a fight. It was absolutely masterfully game planned. Whether it was his perfect execution or his coaches leading the way, I'm not entirely sure. But I would simply say that in almost every category, for the most part, he outfought Lone'er. But they did both put up an amazing fight. That massive shot that Kavanagh threw and landed in round 2 legitimately could have ended most flyweight fights. But Royval, heart of a lion this fight, was able to almost find a submission out of it with a triangle, and on top of that, survived. Could it have been broken up and somebody would have been like, okay, I guess that's a fine stoppage? Maybe. But excellent refereeing, by the way, as well. I can't remember who it was. I thought it was Mark Goddard, but I didn't check before this. Sorry. Overall, this was the best fight I have seen in a great while. I didn't enjoy the White House card. I haven't enjoyed a lot of the 320s in general. This was amazing. Both showed absolute heart. Royval showed why he's an absolute dog, and Lone'er showed so much potential. I am honestly, in the way a viewer is of seeing somebody that they enjoy, very proud of both of them. But it was just inspiring to watch overall. Now, I think Lone'er could have a chance. I might see him fighting Tatsuro Taira in the future. I don't know if maybe they're kind of separate worlds. I think Taira's an amazing talent. It is absurd that Joshua Van beat him. Not to dog on Van in any way, but just the absurdity in the speed of Van's hands and the ability to survive and just keep pushing. His heart is incredible. But I could see Taira and Royval fighting in the nearest future, and Taira and Lone'er fighting even farther down the line. They're both pretty young prospects, and I'm excited to see them overall. But this was an excellent fight, an amazing jiu-jitsu, amazing wrestling, and amazing boxing by Royval. I did very much enjoy the kicks, though, as kind of a last few minute reminders from Kavanagh. He did great, and overall their exchanges were wonderful to watch. I know a lot of this is just praise for the two, but I truly was enamored by this fight. It kept me in my seat the entire time. But I did find Royval to have absolutely outclassed him in the range department as well, besides the one shot. It was fantastic. An extra segment I wanted to include were some little keys to victory I saw from Royval in this fight, as well as some small things that Kavanagh did great that he should continue to do and improve upon. Now, I think Kavanagh very often found his lead foot outside of Royval's, which was amazing footwork and positioning. I think it's a sign that he was very well trained for this fight, and he tried when he had a moment to use it to his advantage. However, from Royval on the flip side, whenever, I don't know if he noticed this or did this subconsciously, but he'd reset the exchange nearly every time Kavanagh had a significant outside lead foot. Although Lone'er should have been able to set up a lot of power shots from that, like he did in round 2, I think Royval did an amazing job of countering that on top of his jab. He'd move his head or just get out of the pocket in general and get rid of the danger level entirely. Now, on top of this, Royval did not panic besides the one incredibly dangerous scramble at any time in the grappling department. He was very calm and very collected, and he looked like he was hunting for a submission or okay just being in control whenever he was on top. However, I think Lone'er showed a bit of panic, and this was one of the bigger things, in my opinion, that led to him getting submitted in the first place. He was trying so desperately to avoid the submission, which, of course, don't get submitted. But he was not focusing on other potential avenues, and he got his back taken very quickly in the third round, albeit. But overall, I think those are the two biggest things for Royval: his calmness on the ground and his ability to reset the exchange whenever he wanted, especially because he managed his distance so well. But Kavanagh should keep doing the outside lead foot positioning every single time, especially as a smaller fighter. He has to find his angles, and I think he did a great job at times, but it wasn't good enough this time around. On top of that, as a side note, I think he had great kicks. I think his kicks looked great this fight, and he should continue to work the legs and work the body when he can, and he'll set up stuff. He's very athletic, and he's going to find a way, if he continues to train and continues to get that outside foot, to absolutely maul guys. I think he has the potential to be a top 5 flyweight within the next year. Anyways, that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching. As always, it has been great to share my thoughts and my commentary with you guys. I appreciate anybody who has listened through the entire video or even clicked on it for just a little bit to explore a little bit more about my page. As always, have a great day, stay safe, continue to get better.